Here are 10 items that, if you get rid of them tonight, will make your home feel more spacious, safer, and bring back a sense of peace you thought you had lost long ago. This week, I would like to share the story of Linda Parker, a 72-year-old resident of the quiet suburbs of San Diego, California. A lifelong elementary school teacher, Linda had a habit of keeping almost everything out of fear of waste, out of respect for memories, or simply thinking, what if I need it later? Over the years, that once warm home became crowded hallways, narrowed, and every corner held things she no longer used but couldn't let go of. Today, I'll walk you through 10 items that Linda, along with many other wise older adults, decided to let go of in just one evening. You'll see why expired medicine can be both dangerous and a space waster, why duplicate kitchen tools create clutter rather than convenience, why old newspapers and magazines have lost their value yet consume precious space, and why sealed memory boxes can become a burden instead of a joy. And with the last item, you may be surprised to learn that it not only helps your home look tidier, but also protects both your safety and your assets. I believe Linda's story will help you realize that decluttering isn't just about removing things, it's about regaining peace and freedom in your own home. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Your support is the motivation for us to keep sharing more meaningful things. Thank you for being here. Now, let's move on to the first item. Item 1. Expired medicine. The moment I stepped into Linda's small bathroom, I noticed the old wall-mounted medicine cabinet. The door stuck a bit, but when I opened it, nearly every shelf was crammed with bottles, blister packs, and jars of various medications. Linda sighed, saying she had kept many of them thinking she might need them someday, or because she wasn't sure how to dispose of them safely. There was cough syrup from 10 years ago, a few bottles of vitamins that had changed color, and even prescription medications from her knee surgery over 7 years back. I told her that expired medicine not only loses its effectiveness, but can sometimes change into substances that may be harmful. More importantly, when a cabinet is overcrowded every time she needs her current jar medication, she has to dig around, wasting time and increasing the risk of mixing them up. Linda nodded, and together we checked the expiration dates on each container. Anything past its date or with an unreadable label went into a separate bag to take to the local pharmacy, which accepts old medications for safe disposal. In less than 15 minutes, her cabinet looked so much neater. The medicines she currently uses were lined up clearly and easily seen, and she said it felt like lifting a small burden off her shoulders. This simple act not only made Linda's home safer, but also made her mornings smoother without wasted time searching or worrying about taking the wrong pills. I told her this is one of the easiest wines, and that whenever she starts decluttering, she should pick something quick, simple, and obvious like this to build momentum for what's next. Item 2. Duplicate kitchen tools, leaving the bathroom. Linda led me into the kitchen, the place she always called the heart of her home. But this heart was overflowing. The first drawer I opened revealed 3 can openers, 4 spatulas, and at least 5 wooden spoons nearly identical. Linda smiled sheepishly, explaining that each time she shopped, she forgot what she already had, or if someone gifted her one, she kept it just in case. This habit made every drawer heavy, and finding a single item took far too long. I introduced her to the Keep 1 rule: choose the best, most durable, easiest to use version, and set the rest aside to donate or give away. We tried it immediately, picking the smoothest running can opener the most comfortable spatula, and one pair of wooden spoons in perfect condition. The rest went into a donation box. In just 30 minutes, her drawers were lighter, opened smoothly, and the new space made her exclaim, "Now I can find everything right away." I told Linda that removing duplicates not only frees up space, but also reduces mental clutter, making cooking a joy again instead of a tiring search. She agreed, saying that next time she shops, she'll remember this rule: keep only the best one and let the rest go to someone who truly needs it. Item 3. Old newspapers and magazines. From the kitchen we moved to the living room, where the afternoon light poured in through the large window. Right next to Linda's sofa was a stack of newspapers and magazines nearly up to her knee. She said she kept them thinking she would reread interesting articles or try a few recipes, but in reality she hadn't touched them for months. When I bent down, I saw some issues dating back 3 years, the paper yellowed and dusty. I explained that keeping old newspapers not only takes up space, but also collects dust triggers allergies and poses a fire hazard if they ever catch flame. Linda admitted that sometimes seeing this stack made her feel like she had unfinished business, as if there was a to-do list waiting. We started sorting, keeping only the current month's issues and taking photos of a few pages she genuinely wanted to save. The rest went into a bag for recycling. Once that corner was clear, the space looked brighter and more open. Linda smiled, saying she felt lighter, as if she had let go of an invisible weight. I reminded her that for the information she needs, she can subscribe to the digital version, which saves space and is easier to search. She nodded, saying she would try that to keep her living room fresh and comfortable. Item 4. Broken electronics. While tidying around the living room, Linda opened the low cabinet under the TV to look for some old photos. When the door swung open, I saw a tangle of wires and a collection of electronic devices long out of use. There was a TV remote with no battery cover, a radio that only produced static, a cracked landline phone, and several chargers that no longer fit any device she owned. Linda admitted she kept them thinking she could repair them or use the parts, but in reality, many had been there for over 6 years without being touched. I explained that broken electronics not only take up space, but also give the feeling of an unfinished to-do list weighing on the mind every time you see them. We gathered them all into a separate box to take to the local e-waste recycling center, where they could be safely processed and usable parts recovered. Once the cabinet was empty, Linda realized she no longer had to avert her eyes from that pile. She said it felt like closing a chapter, letting go of a heap of small annoyances she hadn't even noticed before. I reminded her that from now on, any broken device that hasn't been fixed in 6 months should be donated or recycled immediately to keep both her space and her mind clear. Item 5. Old sheets and towels. Upstairs, Linda showed me the linen closet at the end of the hallway. The moment the door opened, a pile of towels, bedsheets, and pillowcases nearly spilled out. Many were thin from wear, faded in color, and even had small tears. Linda said she kept them thinking she might use them for cleaning or save them for unexpected guests. I asked her honestly if she would give these to a valued guest, and she smiled and shook her head. I explained that using linens that are too worn not only makes a home look less tidy, but also affects her sense of comfort. We folded and set aside the sets that were still fresh and soft, keeping only what she needed for daily use, plus a few for guests. The rest, the worn-out towels and sheets, went into a bag to donate to the local animal shelter, where old towels are always needed to care for the animals. When we closed the closet, Linda was surprised that she could now clearly see each set and easily take what she needed without digging around. She said from now on, she only wants to use items that make her feel cared for and respected every day. I nodded, reminding her that a home doesn't need much, only enough and of good quality, so that each use feels like a small enjoyment. Item 6. Excess furniture blocking walkways. Back downstairs, I immediately noticed that the path from the living room to the back door was partially blocked by a large armchair. Linda said it used to be useful when her family gathered, but now it was rarely used. Near the window, there was also a side table stacked with books, magazines, and small decorative items. I pointed out that too much furniture not only makes the house feel cramped, but also increases the risk of tripping, especially at night when lighting is low. We tried moving the armchair to the center of the room, and instantly the walkway felt more open. The side table was cleared and moved to another spot where it didn't block movement. Looking at the open space we had created, Linda smiled and said she felt she could breathe easier, as if her home had expanded. I reminded her that every piece of furniture should have a clear purpose and serve her current needs, not just remain because of habit or old memories. Now moving around her home was safer and more convenient, and she felt more confident knowing she had removed a hidden hazard she'd never noticed before. Item 7. Too many children's keepsakes. While chatting in Linda's small home office, I noticed several plastic storage bins stacked against the wall. Linda explained they held all the keepsakes from her 2 children since they were in preschool. She opened one to reveal dozens of crayon drawings, holiday cards, report cards, and even scraps of fabric from old clothes. I understood the deep sentiment behind these items, but I also knew that keeping everything made it harder for the truly meaningful pieces to stand out. I suggested she choose only 3 to 5 of the most representative items for each child, the ones that brought back a vivid memory. We spread everything out on the table, talked about the stories behind them, and took photos of the ones she didn't keep. The chosen items went into frames or albums to display in the living room instead of sleeping in boxes. Seeing the artwork and cards in a place of honor, her eyes lit up with joy. She said now every memory had a rightful place and could be shared easily with visitors instead of being hidden away. I reminded her that keeping less can make us appreciate more, because each item is truly seen, remembered, and loved. Item 8. Clothes that no longer fit. Linda led me into her bedroom to see the large wardrobe along the wall. When the doors opened, I saw rows of dresses, slacks and coats crammed together, many still with tags but no longer fitting her. Linda admitted she kept some in the hope she might wear them again someday, or because they had been expensive or tied to her teaching years. I told her that every time we open the closet and see clothes we can't wear, we unintentionally remind ourselves of what's gone instead of what we have. We sorted together, keeping the clothes that fit, and made her feel confident and comfortable, and bagging the rest to donate to the Community Support Center. Linda tried on a few of the pieces, she kept smiling with relief in front of the mirror. She said now when she opens her closet, she sees only what she can wear right away, no more digging or disappointment. I reminded her that a wardrobe should reflect who she is and the life she lives today, not be a storage room for past versions of herself. From now on, every new piece she adds will be something she truly loves and wears often. So each morning begins with an easy, joyful choice. Item 9. Memory boxes never opened. In Linda's garage, against the back wall were 3 large cardboard boxes covered in a thick layer of dust. She said they were memory boxes filled with everything from photos, letters, and souvenirs to random small objects from when her kids were young. What caught my attention was that she couldn't remember exactly what was inside because they hadn't been opened in years. I told her the most precious memories are the ones we can see and experience daily, and when they're sealed away in boxes, they become a silent burden. We decided to open one on the spot. Inside were mostly old papers, a few notebooks with mold spots, many faded photos, and some items with no clear meaning anymore. Linda chose to keep the photos and keepsakes that truly touched her heart, and we photographed the rest before letting them go. The special items went into a smaller box and were moved into the living room where she could see them easily. Closing the 2 remaining boxes, Linda said she would spend the week going through them the same way. She admitted she felt lighter, knowing she had begun to free up space while keeping the memories that mattered most. I reminded her that memories don't live in old boxes. They live in the stories and feelings we carry each day. Item 10. Duplicate scattered important documents. In the afternoon, Linda took me into the small room behind the kitchen where she kept her desk and filing cabinet. On the desk, in the drawers, and even on the shelves, I saw piles of folders, envelopes, and file binders all mixed. There were 3 versions of the same insurance policy with different dates. Several outdated wills, expired bank statements, and health insurance cards that were no longer valid. Linda said she kept them out of fear of throwing away something important, but the scattered duplicates were making it harder and more time-consuming to find the right documents. I showed her a simple system: keep only the most current version of each important document in its own clearly labeled folder, stored in a lockable cabinet. 1 copy of truly critical documents like a will or insurance policy should be given to a trusted family member or placed in a safe deposit box at the bank. We reviewed everything together, shredding outdated papers to protect her personal information. When all the essentials were neatly filed in just a few folders, Linda said she felt much more at ease, knowing exactly where everything was and which version was valid. I reminded her this wasn't just decluttering. It was protecting her legal security and peace of mind for herself and her family. As the sun began to set, Linda and I sat in the newly organized living room. The evening light streamed through the window, illuminating the open space that had just that morning been crowded with stacks of newspapers, extra chairs, and dusty memory boxes. Linda leaned back in her seat, her eyes showing relief. She said each item we let go of today felt like untying an old knot, and she wished she had done it sooner. I reminded her that decluttering isn't about perfection. It's about creating a space that reflects who we are today, safer, lighter, and easier to live in. We reviewed the 10 items we had tackled, from expired medicine to duplicate documents, and realized that each one had brought a small change that added up to a big difference. I encouraged Linda to keep up this habit of selective keeping, starting with the smallest tasks, so her home would always be protected and her mind always at rest. If you're hearing this story and recognize similar items in your own home, choose 3 to deal with tonight. You'll feel the difference as soon as that first bit of space appears. Thank you for joining me and Linda on today's journey. Your support is invaluable in helping us share more stories and solutions to make your home and your life more peaceful. Until next time.